Hey everybody, I'm past my last frost date. That means that on my planting calendar, I can start throwing my spring vegetables into the ground. But if I plant too early, not only could it limit the amount of crops that I have, delay my harvest, or it could damage the crops for my entire spring garden season. Let's go. Hey everybody, I'm Greg and welcome to Belle's Backyard Garden, where we help the new and beginner gardeners with simple solutions to grow vegetables organically and simply using products that are readily available. Now, knowing your frost date and having a good planting calendar is a great foundation, but one thing that we need to pay attention to is temperature. And I'm not talking about the air temperature, I'm talking about the soil temperature. If we plant too soon, a lot of crops will actually not germinate and just rot in the ground, and you're not going to get any production at all. Some will actually germinate, but they're going to germinate under stress, and that plant is going to become a seedling under stress, and it's going to grow a lot slower. So what we need to do is pay attention to our soil temperature for those particular plants. Now what we're going to do in this video is we're going to go over soil temperatures and what you can plant at that time. All it's going to take is a meat thermometer or a soil thermometer if you have one, but let's jump right into these. Now the first thing we want to do is check our soil temps. Now you can do that several ways. You can use a meat thermometer that you have in your house, or one of those instant thermometers that has the probe in it, or you can go on Amazon and buy a thermometer that's dedicated just for testing soil. What we're going to do is we're going to start with our cooler season, our cooler soil crops, and then we're going to work our way up. Now the first thing we're going to talk about is this guy right here, potatoes. Now potatoes grow well when the soil temp is above 45. Now that's not for all potatoes. If you're going to plant sweet potatoes like it when it's 70 degrees or more. So make sure that you're planting either your white or your red potatoes at the 45-degree mark, but let's hold off on the sweet potatoes. Next is carrots. Now carrots can be planted when the soil temp is above 45 degrees. What I did is I have two containers right here just to show you how this works. On this container that I have, I planted this according to my calendar. This container I planted according to my thermometer. Now with this container, if you look at it, you can see that there's maybe 4 or 5 carrots, and that's it that actually came out and germinated. This container right here that I planted by my thermometer, well, it's growing incredibly well. One more thing, somebody asked me what kind of carrots I was growing in a container, because it is a very short container. This comes from Burpee Organics, and they're called the short and sweet, and they're designed to be grown in a container because they're only going to be about 2 to 3 inches long, and they're perfect for those that have like a small space or you're growing out of a container. Now let's talk about peas. Peas can be started when the ground temp is at 45 degrees also. So you can get these guys into the ground or into your containers, and they're going to be doing incredibly well. They can also survive just a little bit of frost. So if you're a little hesitant on if you're going to get one more light frost or not for the season, you can still plant your peas. And finally, our radishes. I plant those when the soil temp's at 45 degrees. These are cool weather crop too, and they grow really rapidly. Now what I'll do is I'll put my radishes in between my tomato plants that you see here. I do that for 2 reasons. One, well, I like to eat them, and 2, they're a great indicator crop. When a radish starts to grow, if the seedling comes up and it starts to turn a little yellow, that indicates that the soil pH is a little bit too low. If it's super green, the pH is probably going to be just about right. Now also, this is a great indicator plant. So this plant's already going to be established when I put my tomatoes in. It's a great attractor for your pests and your insects. So if I'm looking at my tomato plants looking for threats, the first thing I do is I'm going to go to my radishes. I'm going to look for my aphids, and then I'm going to look for any bugs, or I'm going to look to see if they're being eaten. So get your radishes into the ground at the 45-degree mark. Now when the soil temp hits 60, to me, that's a fun time. That's when the stars of the garden can start showing up. That's these guys right here, your tomatoes. Whether you're going to plant them directly into the ground with seeds, or you're going to put your seedlings in, it's time to get your tomatoes into the ground. These right here are my Roma tomatoes. I'm going to use these for canning. Hopefully these guys will produce about 15 pounds a piece. I should have enough to put in about 40 to 50 quarts. Now on the other side of the garden, I have my Cherry Sweet 100s, and those guys are just going to be a vining tomato. It's going to be beautiful. And then I have my heirloom tomato. My big beefsteak tomato is going to be my Cherokee Purple. Well, I hope you're getting value out of this video so far. If you do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up, because here at Belle's Backyard Garden, our purpose is just to help the new and beginner gardeners grow organic vegetables simply and easily while using the products that are readily available. Next to 60 degrees, one of the other stars of the garden, the cucumbers. You can start planting them. These are always best planted when you do it directly into the soil instead of planting a seedling. Now, I've already started mine here. I did that last week. I haven't seen any germination yet, but it usually takes between 7 to 10 days for these guys to come up. Also at 60 degrees, you can start planting your beans. Now these are pole beans and bush beans. I think I've got Blue Lake in here, and then I have Provider over there. Now pay attention to when you plant your beans, because there's certain types that don't do well when the soil's cool. Take, for example, your black-eyed peas or your lima beans, anything that looks like that. They like to have a soil temp that's about 65 to 70 degrees. Your bush beans, your pole beans, those are going to be good to go. Now my soil temp right now is setting at 70 degrees. Now I'm going to wait for just a few more days before I bring out the remainder of my crop. And those are going to be the really warm soil loving vegetables. That's going to be my bell peppers, my hot peppers, and also my eggplants. And I know I'm really tempted to get those suckers into the ground right now and start growing, but right now they're just going to have to wait underneath the heat lamp and just grow in the seed trays. Well, everybody, we touched on just a few of the plants that we're growing into our garden and how important it is to get the soil temperature just right before we put them into the ground. I hope this helps, but do me a favor, make sure before you plant anything, check to make sure what the soil temp is. I think you're going to have a great and successful season. I'm Greg from Belle's Backyard, and I'll see you on the next video.